enthusiasts will probably really like the bolt mechanism on the M14 because although it's not completely fully functional, it gives you a pretty good idea of what it might have been like to have one of the real deal in your hand. It's pretty beefy too. The whole bolt assembly is, it's all metal of course, and it's pretty heavy duty for airsoft. As you pull the bolt back, the top of what would be really called the dust cover in this situation actually rotates just a little bit, kind of giving the feel of the rotating bolt system of the M14 in the Garand. You can let it slam forward as much as you want. As far as we can tell, there's absolutely no practical airsoft function by keeping it open. Obviously the hop-up is in the magazine well, so clearly you're not going to be holding the bolt back to adjust that. But it sounds good, it looks good, it's just pretty much fun. The only thing that's a little bit of a disappointment is the bolt doesn't lock back. And this kind of perplexed us because on the other side of the gun you have what would be the bolt release lever. As far as we can tell, it would be fully functional except for the fact that there's a small nub, basically a stopper, between the actual the lever itself and the frame of the gun. We're not really sure why Echo 1 did this, but it does seem to be the same way on the Tokyo Marui, so who knows why. It would have been pretty cool if it worked though, and we're pretty confident that with just a little bit of modification you could probably get it to work, because as far as we can see everything would be functional except for that little stopper in there. But all in all, pretty slick. We like the way the bolt feels and looks, and you'll probably get a kick out of it too. One of our favorite features on the M14 is the sight system. Anyone who's somewhat familiar with either the M16 sight system or the M1 Garand sight system will recognize this instantly. As you can see, it's a PEEP sight in the back with, as I said, a fairly standard Springfield front aperture. It's also fully adjustable, which makes this one of the best sights on the airsoft market today. Now, to change your sight settings, it's an easy affair. You really have to manipulate one of two knobs, and to take care of your elevation you're going to use the left hand knob. Again, very simple. One way pushes the sight up and one way pulls it back down. We think this is a very, very cool and very useful feature, especially for an airsoft gun. Now the other side takes care of your windage, which is really just a left or right situation. The adjustment is really a little less for taking care of your left to right on the rear assembly, but it's there, and it really is one of the best sights on the airsoft market. Now Echo 1 includes a couple of extras with the M14 SOCOM, and one of those is the scope rail. Now a lot of guns look good with scopes on them, but the M14 seems to really be made for a scope and a scope mount. They give you a very sturdy piece of hardware. It's a huge chunk of metal. It adds some weight, but it also really adds a feeling of solidity. And it's actually secured to the receiver using a couple of heavy-duty bolts that are also, of course, included. And of course, this would allow you to add almost any kind of optical accessory with ease, because of course it's a very large rail, and you could put almost anything on there. Now the front sight assembly, we've already touched on it a little bit, but it is all metal, and of course that is always a nice thing to see in any airsoft gun. There's not a lot really to talk about it, nothing's terribly adjustable, but you can screw off this portion of the gun, which really serves as nothing more than, just it's all really for show. But it would be something that you might do if you were fully disassembling the gun and you wanted to take off the front sight assembly and the flash suppressor. One other minor thing, Echo 1 gives you a very small rail that you could affix to the front if you wanted to remove the front sling mount. And that could serve as a platform for a laser or flashlight if you'd like. We decided to keep the sling mount on just because we like the way it looks, and we did try to install the rail, and you will have to manipulate the angle at which it goes in, because the sling attachment has a small piece underneath that doesn't come out, very easily. You'd have to disassemble the gun. And when you attach the rail, it actually is at just a slight angle. So whatever accessory you put on there would be off just a bit if say, you put on a laser. Flashlight would probably be fine. And this concludes our quality review of the new Echo One M14 SOCOM. Overall, there are things we liked and things we disliked. If it wasn't for an otherwise flimsy handguard or heat shield, this gun would probably get top marks for fit and finish. There's a lot of metal on the gun, which we like, and there are a lot of fully functional parts that mimic the real steel, like the adjustable sights and the removable trigger guard. The metal butt plate is also a nice addition, though we would like to see a little bit more upgradability in the battery compartment, though that is a sacrifice we're willing to make. One of the first upgrades, though, that we would probably do is a new magazine. Get ourselves one that really can hold a little more. This one is limited to around 330 rounds or so, and we'd like to take full advantage of the high cap mag, which can hold up to 450 rounds. But overall, it's a good gun, and we would rate it as average.